Did you know that there's one thing that you need to get right to unlock your indie feature film career?
And it is the king of making films profitable.
Today, we're going to talk about unlocking this one thing that will make you have a successful indie feature. Let's go.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Becoming Filmmakers. I'm Marcus E. Brown.
I'm DeCoven Riggins.
And we're happy that you're back. Now, last week, if you recall, we talked about mindset. And when we say mindset, we're talking about being positive in every aspect of becoming a filmmaker. Never letting what you're going through change your plot and your plan of finishing your film.
Yeah.
So
you can't stop. And we're going to keep building on that. And again, as filmmakers, specifically our indie filmmakers out there, that's what we're talking to. Your mindset has to be different, has to be evolved. And we talked about unlocking a secret. What's that secret we talking about?
Story. Story is king.
It's king. Why do you think story's so much king when it comes to filmmaking in general?
Well, for me, I'd say it doesn't matter if your acting isn't the greatest, your color grade is not the greatest, sound's not the greatest, editing isn't great. If that story is compelling, if it's something that I can hold on to, and even after your movie, like it causes conversation, that's what makes a movie interesting. That's why we watch it multiple times. I don't watch a movie multiple times because I loved how the colors of it. Our kids aren't watching the same movies over and over again. Not just for the singing, but it's also for the story.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting how we as indie filmmakers sometimes we obsess over technical.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we're writers, unless we come from like that background of I'm a writer, I want to tell stories, and that's where I come from.
Yeah.
But if you come from like a technical background, I think a lot of the times we focus a lot on that and not enough on story. Having a compelling story, I think typically a compelling story that people can identify with is what really draws audiences in.
Mm-hmm.
And if, like you said, if you do that right, you really don't, wherever your shortcomings are outside of that, technically, audiences typically are forgiven.
Yeah, because you tend as a filmmaker to get better at the technical things as time is going on.
Yep.
So I know if every time you put out a film, the story is great, I don't mind watching you grow, because as your technical side is growing, your story side should be growing as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, we've watched some movies that aren't technically that great. We've made some movies that aren't technically that great. But as you're watching a compelling story, it seems like those things kind of fade away. Either you get used to the not good technical work, or it just kind of it disappears because you get immersed in the story. And if you can immerse somebody in your story, you on your way.
Especially like even with the characters in that story, if like you said earlier about identifying. So like even if it's somebody that I just identify as I don't like you, so I can't wait for you to get your comeuppings at the end of the movie. So I'm gonna sit here for however long it takes so I can see this thing happen to you that I can see it forming, and I'm just so excited to see you get what you deserve.
Yep.
So
or somebody that you cheer for, that you like, man, I want to see them win because of whatever it is. Those are the things that technically make or break your movie.
Mm-hmm. Hey, have you always wanted to upgrade into making features, but you feel so overwhelmed by the process and didn't feel like you had the resources to do so?
Don't worry about it. There's a lot of filmmakers out there just like you, but we're here for you. Hi, I'm DeCoven Riggins.
And I'm Marcus E. Brown.
And we are two filmmakers here at Notis Studios. Now, we've accomplished a lot in our filmmaking journey. We've won Emmys
And Tellys.
and film festivals all across the world. And what we've noticed in this process is that there are two types of filmmakers. There's the Hollywood kind, then there's the indie kind of filmmaker. And what we want to do is unlock a process that'll help you make feature films faster.
And that's called the 4-month feature timeline.
And this timeline is robust in keeping you on track to your feature film.
And no matter where you are in the process, whether it's pre-production, production, or post-production, the 4-month feature timeline is going to be there for you to keep you on time, on target, and on track.
So go down below right now and click the link and get your free gift of the 4-month feature timeline so you can make features faster.
We'll see you on set.
Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. So one instance of a film not done to the highest of technical capabilities, our first feature, Black Wall Street Burning. You ain't seen it? Go check it out on Tubi. Go check it out on Amazon. Go check it out. Yeah, man, we didn't know, we knew some stuff. We didn't know a lot of stuff technically, but because the story was one of historical value, that nobody had never done a feature on, and we took on the challenge of doing it. It's interesting because I know, like, even for myself watching it, I see the technical flaws early. But as the story keeps going on, I forget it. I just forget. I'm in it.
Yeah.
And I'm there, and the story's compelling.
True. I could agree with that. And I've watched it plenty of times, and I see the things that's wrong or that we lit it, but we didn't light it.
Yep.
And, you know, that there's a big difference with that, y'all, between something being lit and something that you liked.
Yep.
But everything was illuminated. We
made sure there was some light.
Saw everything. But I think even with the technical flaws, you cared.
Yeah.
About what was going on. And it even made you want to go find out what really
happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think, like, just that being a testament, there's an audience already built around that idea of what happened to Black Wall Street. And now I visually get to see it. Whether it's done to the technical abilities of Hollywood or not, we still had to write somewhat of a compelling story around it that allowed for you to get immersed into it. And if you watch it, again, it's not the greatest piece of cinema out there. Like, it has a lot of technical flaws, but the story is good enough that that's been a successful feature for us.
Yeah.
We've constantly made money off of it year over year. And one, we didn't spend a lot of money on it.
Thank God.
And two, I mean, we were really the green of green when it comes to indie filmmaking. When you talk about making features,
Greener than grass.
We were super green. And we still got a lot to learn. I mean, I don't think you ever stop learning in this business. It's always going to be something new, something that you can grow in.
Yeah.
But if you get story right, it can cover up a multitude of sins, so to speak.
And even when you're growing technically, you need to be growing on the story side as well, becoming a better and better storyteller.
Yeah.
That's extremely important because, again, everything in our business is constantly evolving. How people accept information is always evolving, or how they want stories told to them, or even telling stories that were told years ago in cinema. Now I want it told to me in a more modern sense.
Yep.
So, you know, us at the age we're at, what if we make a movie, but we're trying to market to a teenage audience? But if we don't have an ability to tell a story to a teenager, then it's going to hurt our film.
It's going to hurt our film.
So when you're writing story, when you're in that process and you're brainstorming, you're like, oh, I really want to write this feature, and I want things to blow up, and I want car chases, and, you know, I want Chanel and Fendi bags and everybody wearing the best. You need to always remember what your budget is.
Yep. Because
You want to write for your budget, especially as an indie filmmaker. It is imperative and paramount that you write for your budget. We're currently in the process or in pre-production on a film right now that I wrote. And what I did, I walked around our soundstage and I saw everything that we had, and I started writing the movie to the things that were already here. So we didn't have to order anything or go get anything. Everything is already here. We own everything. So that way the movie that we're writing, the budget is already small because I'm writing for the budget that I know we're going to have. Now, if your budget's $500, then to me, I would write a movie that I think would cost about $300. So
Yeah.
you have cushion.
And we're gonna do a whole show talking about indie film budgeting. You do it differently than the way that you would do it if you're an independent film company or you're a Hollywood film company. You don't in this case, you don't start with script. You start with budget. Your budget is the resources that you have. Either that's financial resources, either that you know you can get, or financial resources you already have, or just resources that you have, whether it's locations, whether it's props. But we're gonna talk about all of that. So when you're writing your story, just like what Marcus said, go look at what you have and write to that. And the reason you're gonna wanna do that is it's gonna allow you to make the movie, right? Based on what you have and not take up a lot of your time. Again, if you wanna know more about this, we're gonna be releasing a book really soon that's gonna give you a lot of detail about that and help you along the way, not with just writing, but with making films in general. So as indie filmmakers, we gotta think different. Our mindset has to be different. Our tactics have to be different from Hollywood. And I know for so long, what we've done is because the technical side and the concepts are the same, we treat all of it the same, and we do our tactics and strategies the same as we do as Hollywood would do their films. And we can't operate like that if we're gonna be successful business people in film. Because honestly, people make films because they love films, but you also wanna make some money. Sure. So we're gonna continue to give y'all different strategies and tactics on how you can become really good filmmakers. But that is, to me, a nugget that you need to hold on to when you're talking about writing a script. Do exactly what he said. Go look at what you have and craft a story around the things that's in your hand. What do they say? A bird in the hand is worth more than two in the bush.
Yep, there it is.
Right? So if you already got stuff available to you, it could be the simplest thing. And so when you start writing, you can craft your characters around it. Probably not want to craft too many characters around it if you don't have the resources to make that kind of thing happen. Again, when we're making stories as indie filmmakers, we have to be mindful of what our resources are and what our capabilities are. That don't mean you don't get creative. Get as creative as you possibly can within the constraints that you have.
Yeah, I will definitely say, as a filmmaker, something I want everyone watching this to leave with. Sound design is your best friend in indie filmmaking. You want a car crash, but you obviously don't want to crash two cars. You can put two cars together, just have some smoke coming up, and in sound design, you have the sound effects. You can build that car crash without letting the audience see it, but they can still feel the car crash.
Yep.
So sound design is your friend.
Seriously. So if you want that car crash, whatever action sequence you're thinking about, think about how you can do it practically with sound design. Again, like you said, it's your best friend, and it doesn't cost much to do it. So as indie filmmakers, the mindset, again, has to be different. As we talked about in the last episode, you got to be fluid like water, but also be as creative as water, because water can mold and manipulate into different things, right? It can become ice, it can become vapor, smoke. Like all of these things water can do, that's creative. You be that creative when you're talking about crafting a story when you don't have a budget. And Black people, we know how to stretch a dollar.
Yeah.
How to
pinch a
penny, how to get a whole bunch of stuff out of nothing. And so if you're not Black, hey, go get some Black friends and figure out how they make a bunch of stuff work with a little bit of money. But now on the serious tip, as indie filmmakers, we have to really shift our mind to how we can turn this thing into a business and really make money from it. And one of the ways is crafting your stories right, and you can pump out a lot of feature films. But yeah.
Yeah, and understanding that you don't marry your story. Because see, when you marry your story, you're not willing to make changes. So when you were in your room and you were writing about this mansion exploding, and now you don't have enough money to blow up even a toy mansion, and you're upset and you're like, I don't want to lose that. So don't marry your script, because if we're going to be fluid, if we're going to be like water and be able to fit in anything, well, that means my mindset is, yes, I wrote this script, but I'm always willing to pivot. I'm always willing to change. As long as it doesn't hurt the core story, it could change.
And I'll even say on this point, if they do have that mansion scene that they're just hard to set on with this type of movie, just hold on to that script until you get the budget to make it. That is okay. And we're going to teach you how to build the business in such a way that your own films can pay for that mansion film at some point.
Yeah.
But just know that your script is king. Like, if you have the right script, you can make money.
Yeah.
You can. And so, again, keep these things in mind. Again, limit your locations. Unless you just got access to a bunch of locations and you got time. But limit your locations if you can. I'd say limit your characters.
That's huge.
Limiting your characters, because then you don't have to wrangle so many people. Unless you've done it before and you understand and know how to do it, limit it. And then, like I said, let sound design be your best friend when it comes to trying to do a lot of different action sequences. Best you can. But story, king, you have to get that right regardless of your technical capabilities.
So the next thing we're going to talk about is writing what you know. Now, it's important to understand that you have great ideas, grand ideas, things in your imagination that you want to bring to the big screen. Nothing wrong with that as an indie filmmaker. But an important thing we need to remember is we need to write what we know, because that's what we write the best. So for me, writing a movie about a girl's sweet 16 may not be my wheelhouse. But if I'm talking about a boy falling in love with a girl, well, I know all about that. So I can take an experience from my own life when I fell in love with, let's say, my wife, and then I could mold that story, change it enough, but I'm speaking from a place that I know and I understand. So I know there's going to be someone somewhere who can connect to my story, because my story isn't unique, if that makes sense.
It is unique, but it's not. It's human experience,
right?
But it is unique to you,
right?
That's the thing that we have to keep in mind. We all have stories. We've all been around people who got stories, or we've been through something. You can always take those experiences and really turn them into almost anything, but it's gonna be easier for you to write the story because you went through it. And it should flow easier. Like, I think that's what made it easier to write about Black Wall Street, because we researched it a lot. It's a true story. You reading a bunch of people's accounts. Okay, let's craft a story around it. It pretty much writes itself. And now any other movie that we decide to come up with, we can easily write movies straight from our experiences, childhood experiences, adult experiences, and everything in between. Do not minimize the power of the experiences that you've had. Don't do that. Really hold on to those experiences. You can tweak them and elevate them and change them, but at the essence of it is a story that you already have. And I know how you write. You just write. You just get started typing up a story. I know a lot of people want to put it in the film format, which you need to at some point, putting it in script format, but just writing.
That is my method. I want to get the story out completely, and then I'll go back, put it in script form, get rid of what I don't. But I just have so many things running through my head. I want to get it all out, because it is writing what I know. And then on top of writing what I know, I know I'm going to embellish here, I'm going to embellish there, I'm going to have some fun with it. But I don't want to, one, forget anything. And then two, I don't want to lose the overarching point that I may be writing to. So it's just write. And then sometimes you may get 2 movies out of that.
You know what's interesting? Idea that just came up to me, and we gonna give this to y'all for free.
What's that?
It's a bunch of people out there that don't necessarily like movies, but they like books.
They do.
And you writing this script about whatever this movie is, you can easily turn that into a book and a script.
Free game.
And today it's way easier today to turn things into books than it used to be.
It is.
So I don't know who need to hear this, but here's another opportunity for you to make some additional money. Turn your script into a book, or turn your story into a book and turn it into a script. And then you may garner fans that read the book to watch the movie. Right? Yeah. And I think about it like this. Our last feature that we did, we cut out a bunch of stuff.
We did.
But if we turn that into a book and keep it,
we ought to be a thick book.
It ain't gonna be that thick.
Thick enough. I mean, I'll read it.
Yeah, because it'll only be like 114 pages because we skimmed it down, but it was like 114 pages.
True.
Right? So, and actually, that's in script form. It was 114 pages. Mm. It ain't gonna be that long in book form because you got all of those headings that are not gonna be there. You got a bunch of stuff that wouldn't be there. Like, man, there's so much you can do as an indie filmmaker, and that's what we want to be here for, is to help y'all make money making films and to make films faster.
Yeah. Now, if you have an issue, there's some a little bit more free game. If you have an issue coming up with your own stories, or you don't want to make stories about your own life, the easiest thing that I found, the best filmmakers walking around are old people.
Yep.
You just sit down with a voice recorder and say, just tell me a story. 3 hours later, you got about 8 movies.
Come on with it.
So do not sleep on old people. They are great filmmakers and they don't even know it. So if you don't have nothing to do, go to your grandmama's house, go to your granddaddy's house and ask some questions. And now you got some movies coming.
Yep. That's a great game. Y'all better soak this up today. I think now it's time for us to spin the wheel.
Let's spin that thing.
All right, so today we spent the wheel. We got $1,000 to do post-production. So if we didn't have anything, where would we start with $1,000 to do post-production the way that we would do post-production? So you start.
So the number one thing I would buy is the DaVinci Resolve macro color panel. And that is so I could be in the color page. I have full control. The great thing about the macro panel is if you have an iPad, you can plug that in there as well. So you can grade on your iPad or you can grade on your computer. And best part, it comes with DaVinci Resolve Studio. So that's a $300 savings that you're doing right there. And you're just going to spend about $509 on it.
Yep. And as an indie filmmaker, DaVinci Resolve will save you money. Especially if you're buying something already, you get it for free, upgrades free. It's no monthly subscription. So that's kind of our best friend when we talk about independent filmmaking.
Industry standard for color.
All right, so from a sound standpoint, I would do Sound Snap for sound effects. They have some music and stuff on there, but I typically would just use it for sound effects. It costs about $200 a year.
Okay, so if you're going to have color and you're going to have an editing software, but you're going to need to be able to do your titles, you're going to be, effects and LUTs and all these crazy now. You don't have to use LUTs, but if you're going to, I would definitely say monthly subscriptions to Motion Array and Artlist are great. So both of them together will run you about $80 a month.
And to stick with the sound side of things, for effects, and not sound effects, but like editing effects, like reverbs, delays, cleanups, deverbs, clarity, things like that. I would get the Waves Creative Access, which is $25 a month. That gives you access to almost all of their plugins monthly. And there's a lot that I typically use in that bundle to clean up dialogue and add different effects to vocals or other sound effects or different things like that. So,
and I say with my last part of the money that's left, I take that about $100 there, and I'd get, I can go to Motion VFX, you can go to Pixel Film Studios, you can go to, and I just see what's out there that maybe no one's using, and I might spend about $89, $90 on a cool effect or something to do with the titles or the credits or like, just a cool transition or just something that sets my film apart.
And with there being about $100 left from there on the sound side of things, I would then also go to Ocular Sounds and I'd pick up several of their bundles. And these are sound effects, whether it's swooshes or impact sounds or drones. Um, I would grab a bunch of that and utilize it. And that's how we would spend $1,000 to have a complete post-production sound and color and I guess even some editing effects, B-roll,
all that's
in there. So yeah, if you got $1,000, I would take a look at this list and see what you can get. Now, we talked about how you should look at your story and writing, how story can overcome technical deficiencies. We've looked at what you should get for your post-production needs. If you got $1,000, you can even chop that $1,000 up into how much money you do have and pick something in there. And so we want you to become better filmmakers as we're becoming filmmakers. And we want to help you make films faster. What you got to say to the people?
Look, just as we learned today, story is king. Okay? Story is king. So make sure you're putting the most effort into your story. That's what I got.
All right. So next week, we're going to come with some fire. We're going to talk about the difference between independent filmmaking and indie filmmaking.
There's a difference.
So come back, kick it with us as we continue to talk about how you can make films faster. I'm DeCoven Riggins.
I'm Marcus C. Brown.
We'll see y'all next week.